Hey, I'm Narendra Kumar, and we are in this great books series, and we are doing History of Civilization, Part 2 by Arjun Dev Sir, and we are in this fourth part of the first chapter, Imperialism and Colonialism. And we are in the subheading, Imperialism in China. We are in the middle of it. The next important stage in the growth of imperialist control over China came after the war with Japan. This came about when Japan tried to increase her influence over Korea, which was under Chinese overlordship. Right? Chinese resented this, and in the two country, and when and the two countries went to war, which ended in victory for Japan. China gave Korea her independence and ceded Formosa and other islands to Japan. She was also forced to pay Japan heavy war damages amounting to about $150 million. $150 million. Quite a big amount. France, Russia, right? France, Russia, Britain, and Germany gave loans to China to help her to meet this payment, but not for nothing. These Western countries then divided China into spheres of influence, which meant that each country had certain regions of China reserved exclusively for its purposes. For example, in its sphere of influence, a country might have the right to build railways or work mines. Germany got Kiacho Bay and exclusive rights in Shantung and in the Hongho Valley. Russia took Liaotung Peninsula along with the right to build railroads in Manchuria. France received Guangzhou Bay and extensive rights in three southern provinces of China. Britain got Via He in addition to her sphere of influence in the Yangtze Valley, Yangtze Valley. The United States feared that China would be completely parceled out in exclusive spheres of influence and that its trade with China would be shut off. The United States therefore suggested the policy known as the open door. This policy is also described as Me Too policy. According to this policy, all countries would have equal rights to trade anywhere in China. Britain supported the United States, thinking that this policy would discourage the annexation of China by Japan and Russia, the two countries that could most easily send their armies to the mainland. The scramble for privileges stopped in China after an uprising against the foreign powers known as the Boxer Rebellion. But but the foreign powers were victorious and levied heavy damages on China as punishment. Imperialism continued with the cooperation of Chinese warlords. These military commanders were supported by the loans which they got from foreign powers in exchange for more privileges. Though China was not conquered and occupied by any imperialist country, the effects of these developments on China were the same as in areas which had been colonized. In a period of few decades, China had been reduced to the status of an international colony. The division of China into spheres of influence has often been described as the cutting of the Chinese melon. This is wonderful facts. This is the power of facts. Now we come to know. Oh, at that time, this is the power of knowledge. Oh, at that time, this happened. Now we got a very clear understanding of China. Now, when we look at the current event, it will be very clear, which is why all the core concepts should be known of history, of sciences, of maths, and of literature. Then you have a wonderful perspective. That's the power of knowledge. That's the our mission. Next subheading is imperialism in South and Southeast Asia. Now we're going from he's giving all the facts of all the imperialistic policies. South and Southeast Asia includes Nepal, Burma, Sri Lanka, Malaya, Indonesia, Indochina, Thailand, and the Philippines. even before the rise of the new imperialism. Many of these countries were already dominated by the Europeans. Sri Lanka was occupied by the Portuguese, then by the Dutch, and later by the British. England introduced tea and rubber plantations, which came to form seven eighths of Sri Lanka's exports. The Dutch lost Malaya to the British, including Singapore. Lying at the tip of the Malaya Peninsula, the conquest of Malaya and Singapore meant control of all the trade of the Far East that passed through the Straits of Malacca. Indonesia and the surrounding islands were under Dutch control. After 1875, Holland extended her control over a group of islands known as the Moluccas. The area in Southeast Asia, once called Indochina, consists of Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam. When England was fighting China over the opium trade, France was trying to extend her commerce in Indochina. In a series of planned steps which included threats of war, France became the master of Indochina, and the separate states were grouped together under a French governor general. Frequent revolts against French rule followed, but they were suppressed, or as the French said, pacified. So we'll stop here. We have completed 6+ minutes. In the next video, we'll continue this chapter.